welcome to the Unlock Your Limitless Potential podcast. I am your host, Amy Moore, also known as Amy Hates Carrots, and I am a transformational coach, a trainer of many subconscious, somatic, and energetic modalities, and a spiritual business mentor who is here to support you in quieting that darn carrot-chasing ego, aligning to what your soul is calling you to instead, and diving deep within to activate the limitless potential and wisdom that already exists within you now. On this podcast, you'll learn all about your inner world, how to create the reality that you want, how to make decisions that support your truest, most limitless self, and how to create positive and lasting change in your life and your soul-driven business. Thank you so much for being here today. Let's dive in, shall we? Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Unlock Your Limitless Potential podcast. Today, I wanted to talk about the importance of working with all of the parts of us in order to create the positive change that we want, and why this is such important information for everybody to know and to understand. So if you have heard me talk about the subconscious mind before, maybe you've even signed up for my free 3-part program where you learn all about your own subconscious mind, you now know that it is responsible for 99% of all of the decisions and behaviors and thoughts and actions that we take each and every day. And working with your own subconscious or working with your own clients and their subconscious minds is going to absolutely be a huge game changer. However, at some point through that process, you can still hit this wall where deep, lasting change is going to need to go beyond just the mind. And that is what I want to chat with you about today. Going beyond just the mind, going beyond just working with mindset alone, which again is so important. But there is a lot more that we need to be including in this process. So it took me a while to discover this on my own journey as a coach, as a facilitator. I didn't understand how I had all of these amazing mindset tools and techniques and certifications, and they really brought some big change in my life and in my business, but I still wasn't always getting the outcomes that I desired. I could do the exact same inner work as all of my friends and colleagues, and I definitely don't want to encourage you to ever compare yourself and your own healing journey to anybody else's. But just so you can understand where I was at the time, I was kind of looking at everyone around me getting all of these results that we all wanted, and I just wasn't getting any of them. And I'm like, what the heck is going on? And so as I became more and more aware of my own physical body and my energetic body, I dove a lot deeper into learning what was happening there. How my own nervous system was not in full agreement with what my mind was saying. There was like a disconnect happening within me. And so I began working with my body and my energy. I started playing with some new modalities. I started incorporating breathwork and somatic techniques and somatic coaching and the beautiful energy work of reiki and kundalini and even kundalini yoga. And I could really see for myself in my own life just how much I had been storing in my body. Lived experiences, memories, emotions, and trauma were actually stored in my body. And at the time, I hadn't really learned fully yet, but our body is so capable of just that. It's going to take these emotions and memories and traumatic lived experiences, and there isn't a lot of places for it to go in that moment because there's so much other stuff going on. And so it stores inside of our muscles and inside of our fascia, which is the connective tissue that surrounds and holds every organ and blood vessel and bone and nerve fiber and muscle in place. And that is a very, very sensitive thing. And so I haven't shared a ton about my own childhood, like lived experiences here on the podcast yet. And I know that my story can empower a lot of people out there. And so I'm really working on doing that more and being more vulnerable, which is something that I work with my clients on a lot too. And I really want to walk my own talk when it comes to that so much more. And so with that, like positive, supportive intention, I'm going to share a bit about it with you right now. But I do want to have a little content warning for anybody that would be sensitive to the following topics: the topic of addiction, of emotional abuse, and just the loss of loved ones. For the next couple of minutes, I'm going to be talking about that. So, I am an only child, and I lost both of my parents to their battles with addiction. And through that entire lived experience, I became the adult I was, and I realized that I had a huge amount of work to do to even get myself in a place where, as an adult, I could actually self regulate my own systems and I could find like comfort in my own body and mind. I used to be a very reactive human being and I had very little emotional intelligence. And so going through life and especially starting my own business, it was like there was this inner child version of me, like 10-year-old Amy, was running the show in every single way. And needless to say, it was like a complete shit show. So, my nervous system, unfortunately, it was most comfortable when things were absolutely chaotic around me. And I know that sounds kind of strange, but that is what was most familiar to my insides, because every single day of childhood would be like this different version of a roller coaster. And don't get me wrong, there were some absolute wonderful days. And I think that's why I don't always share my story fully, is because it wasn't all bad. And I got to spend time with these two very loving, very supportive adult parents of mine who were just humans that were hurting and struggling through their own challenges and still trying to do the best that they could with what they had. Oh gosh, I didn't think I was going to cry for this, but so there were days like that, but there were a lot of other days mixed in there as well. Grab a sip of water here. Okay, so a lot of days of like horrific, traumatic things that would happen where there were these two hurting, struggling adults, my caregivers, but they weren't capable of taking care of themselves. And so as a child, I became the parent. And what that kind of resulted in was a lot of ups and downs of emotions, emotional abuse. There was a lot of manipulation and just a general big fat lack of safety. And that's what my body and my mindset as well was programmed to. And so, to the point where, when as an adult, fast forward to then, let's say things are going really well for me. Like, let's say that I had a relationship that felt safe and loving and secure. And I was like really taking good care of my physical health and my wellness. And my business was quote unquote successful. There was consistent clients coming in and staying and plenty of money coming in. And all of these things that looked really good, but the level of safety and success didn't actually feel safe for me to receive. And so I would just sabotage all of it in order to subconsciously get back to that chaos that my inner world was most comfortable in. And so I would pick a fight with my partner or like binge eat or drink in order to numb out this discomfort I was feeling, or I would spend a ton of money on things that I didn't even really want, like as some sort of like retail therapy, or hide in my own business because I felt like being too seen wasn't safe. So like I'd be in the middle of a launch or something and I'd pull the plug on everything and burn everything to the ground. And so there were so many layers to what was happening there, and the programming that I had within myself and the belief systems that were programmed into me that like directly contradicted each other, which is very interesting. When you work with anyone who has a childhood that there's some sort of caregiver that isn't able to provide certain things for you. This can often happen where I was shown as a child that success looks like having security, having financial freedom, and having the freedom of time. But yet, I was also shown and taught that no one can ever know what's really happening at home. So you need to make everything appear successful. So it became like this very performative thing just to make sure no one was asking any questions. But then my inner world was also literally witnessing two people who were working towards success, and they even were able to achieve it in a lot of ways. But then they didn't quote unquote survive. And so I know that's a very simplistic, primitive view, but that's often how these programs of ours work inside of us. They are very simple because they are very efficient like that. And so I had this like very core belief that if you achieve what you want, Amy, if you get that level of success, like you literally might not survive that. Like you might not be here any longer. And so there was a lot to just unpack there. And it was almost like this, I use this metaphor a lot, but it's like this coding, computer code that gets programmed into all of this, into your body, into your mind. And to be efficient, because all of these systems of yours are just doing so much for you, they just run off of this coding, and it just loops and it loops and it loops and it forever repeats until you go within and you choose to make a change. And so again, as the adult I was, fast forward to being an adult, and there I am, I'm working with my subconscious to be the person I wanted to be, to see that success can mean safety, to convince my mind that that daily roller coaster was no longer needed, and to just sit with myself in those moments of self-sabotage and really take some time to see like, what is really happening here? And give myself a lot of love, a lot of patience, and a lot of grace through that process. And so that's what I did. And I found like my body and my mind, it felt like they were in disagreement. And so usually our body is able to respond to what our mind is telling it. It even acts almost like a robot to what your mind is telling it to do. And we have scientific evidence of that through beautiful subconscious modalities like hypnosis, for example. But when your body has experienced a lot of challenging life experiences or traumas, there's going to be a level of resistance there because it's in working with all of the parts of us, mind, body, and energy, that we can get all of those systems to be on the same team, working towards the same desired outcome. And this whole entire process can feel like so much more full of ease and just peace. So that is what I believe we are all literally being called to do in this period of time in history. It is calling to us to understand all of this, to learn all of this, and to experience this, and to really start connecting the dots and expanding our own capacity and awareness of self. And in doing so, we better all of humanity, like the entire collective benefits. And so we have chosen to be here on this planet at this time for a reason, even if you aren't someone who works with clients. So if you aren't a coach or a facilitator of some kind, then that's okay. Like, we are all being called to make this change. And that is what I want to talk to you about now. So let's talk about the age that we were in and the transition to the age that we are now in. So in the last couple of decades, we have transitioned from the Pisean Age, the age of Pisces, to the age of Aquarius. And maybe you've heard these terms before in the self-development or in spiritual communities, but let's just talk about what they really are and why this is important to know and how it applies to your life. So the previous age, the Pisean Age, which was, when you research this, you'll probably see a bit of variation in the exact years, but for this conversation, let's just estimate that it's from year 1 to 2000 AD. And this time period is an age characterized by power, by control, by secrecy, by disconnection from self, and needing to look outside of yourself to seek a guru or for someone else to give you permission or instruction of what to be and what to do. So we see examples of this all throughout history. There's a lot of fighting, there's a lot of hiding of information, there's a varying growth in difference of class and hierarchies, there's a lot of war, there's a lot of separation, and finding differences in each other in some way, whether it's supportive or not, like in race or ability or gender, etc. Like, there's so many ways that we did this over the last couple thousand years. The terrible things that just happened over that time period, which, if you look at the big picture, they're all kind of tied to the concept of disconnection from self and our yes, disconnection from self and disconnection from others. So you see other people as separate from you. And the goal is just like, I just want more power. I need to be more powerful. And so people are harming each other and killing each other and doing all these things that are rooted in a very selfish and fear-based intention of just wanting to be the most powerful and feeling separate from everybody and everything else. And this is just like a super quick summary of the Pisean Age. So then there is the Aquarian Age, which is right now. This is what we are living and experiencing right now. This is an age marked by awareness, this expansion of self-awareness and extending awareness beyond just self into what is going on in the world. So we are fully beginning to recognize that we no longer are just these physical bodies or these seemingly physical beings, but everything is made up of energy, and therefore so are we. So we're a lot of energy particles vibrating together, creating this illusion of physicality, and we are this vessel of the divine, and we have an innate connection to consciousness, to God consciousness, to divinity, to whatever, something that is greater than you based on whatever you believe to be true, without the need of someone telling us what to do. So we don't take people and just like put them on a pedestal and only listen to what they say anymore. We're able to really start looking within ourselves. So we don't need someone telling us who to be or seeking permission, because we know that we are connected to something greater. So there's no more like, oh, I got to be like this. I got to do all these things. I got to be this person, or I got to be like that person. And there's no more dimming of your own light and essence and looking to everyone else. This is a time that is inviting you to discover new levels of your own divine wisdom. And we're beginning to remember all these things during the age of Aquarius. This is the age of true awakening, the age of remembering who the fuck we really are, the age of something that we haven't seen in thousands of years. And this is also an age that is marked by information. So often it's like way too much information, you know? So information overload. There's like all these ways to share free information. It's open, it's public, it's out there. Energy and information is just flowing everywhere you look. And so as we're returning to our truth of this is the real me, this is who I truly am, and developing the confidence and capacity to share that and live in alignment with that level of expansion, we also have to look at the capacity to handle an increasing amount of information that is expanding too. And if you take a second to think about that, like it's very mind-blowing how much information, an increase of it, there has been in just the last decade alone. There has been an exponential increase. But with that increase of information that's available, it has not been matched with an exponential increase in our nervous system capacity, in our mind, in our body, in our emotional capacity to handle stimulus and to handle difficult conversations and to be an observer of a trigger versus a responder to a trigger. And there's tons of information online, and trying to discern like what is true and what is not with all of these sources through media and social media and all these places, and then having to go to that extra level of having to fact check almost everything to decide what is real. So there's a lot going on. And when we do not have the nervous system capacity to hold all of that, all of this information and all of these things and everything going on in general, what happens when we get overwhelmed with it? Well, we shut down. We automatically get into a different state response of fight, flight, fawn, or freeze. And this is just very important to understand about this time period that we are in right now. In the midst of all of this increase, here speaking to you in 2023 at the time of this recording, everything is only going to continue to increase. There's so much technology unfolding. It's continuing to grow. Artificial intelligence and technology is just like changing every single day. And you can see how it's very important that we either start to or we continue to prioritize the ability to expand our own nervous system capacity, our mindset capacity, our emotional and energetic capacity to handle everything that's going on, not just all of this increase of information, but everything else that already exists that is kind of challenging as a human being to live through. So during this time, intellect and information, it's kind of no longer enough. We can't just approach everything with our logical human thinking mind. We have to reconnect to intuition, to our emotions, to our natural instincts, to the divine wisdom that is within us already, to our body. And we get to shift our attention to not just caring about what gets done, like that very like pure masculine energy, but about how it is getting done and bring this resurrection to this beautiful feminine wisdom and feminine energetics. So, we are being called to an expansion of personal identity to go beyond just the physical human self and really lean into a reconnection with our true nature. And it's becoming very apparent that there's going to be, and there already is, a greater need for love and unity and really grounding ourselves in that. Because as all of these things increase, there can easily be a greater degree of fear and insecurity as the information grows. So we really just need to question the old ways of being and forge ahead with these new ways that are more supportive and more loving for ourselves, for each other, and for the world as a whole. And I don't say any of this to create any fear. That is definitely not my intention. I'm sharing this simply to encourage you to prioritize your own journey of expansion in whatever way feels most supportive for you. And if you are like how I was, where you are someone who does put time and energy and intention into creating positive change in your own life, I really hope that you can go beyond just working with your own mind and mindset and start to just look through the lens of seeing yourself as an entire being. Your body, your mind, your emotions, your energy as like this one beautiful divine package that is you. And you get to empower yourself by working with and including all of you on your journey of healing and of expansion and of self discovery and personal awareness. So, one way that you can start this process is to start going into your body more. And we can do this with somatic healing. So, the word somatic is defined as relating to the body. And when we say somatic healing, we're referring to creating positive change and healing by listening to our own body. And only you can do that for you. And allowing your body to be your guide and to be the healer. And then there's this beautiful added layer that I like to include where we're connecting mind and body and energy to all work together to create the change that we want. So we're taking our mind, our mindset, our perspective, our thoughts and ideas, and we are incorporating them into the body. We are releasing anything that is stored there that is no longer serving us through various modalities that involve a lot more like bodily movement and breathing techniques and breath and even sound too. And with the intention of releasing lived experiences and emotions and memories and trauma that our body has stored within over the years. So, our body is very capable of storing emotions and memories, as I've said before. And when you store these in the muscle and the fascia, what's happening there is we want to release them. I'm going to talk about like how they get stored in just a second, but we want to fully release them and incorporate movements for ourselves. And if we work with clients as well, to stretch and to breathe and to just use the movement and breath to create this new flow through ourselves, telling our body that it is safe to now release what it has been holding on to. So let's talk about how all of this stuff gets stored there in the first place. So when we experience a shock to our system, this can look like a surprise. This could look like a challenging or negative experience. This could look like trauma of any kind. And so, what happens in those moments is there's going to be a lot of involuntary things that your body does for you automatically. So, for example, if you feel like there's a threat of some kind, like your heart rate is going to increase, your blood pressure rises, your pupils dilate, your cortisol and all these different levels like increase the flow through your body, your adrenaline especially. And so you can understand how when something happens to us, our body goes into this emotional response and it's doing all of these things that can be very supportive, but it almost creates this excess of stuff in that moment. And if we aren't getting rid of it right away, which that usually is not a priority in that moment, then it's going to stay stored and stuck within us. And so our body's just in those moments preparing to protect itself. It just wants to survive. And so in that moment, it's going to move into a different state. It's going to go into fight or flight or freeze or fawn. And so if you think about like mammals and animals and like the evolution of all of them and what happens. So there's an outside threat, there's some kind of outside stimulus, and their body prepares to either fight off that predator, to fight off the attacker, or to leave as quickly as possible and go into flight. And depending on the situation, depending on how that animal feels in that moment, that's all going to determine how they relate to that situation. So they're going to make this instinctual decision of which state to go into based on the situation. And regardless of which state they go into, there's going to be things that get locked in their body if they aren't able to release them in that moment. And so if there's this excess adrenaline or cortisol flowing through you because you're going into fight mode, for example, then that can get saved in your body and you can kind of like experience a lot of other things as a result of that. So when you look at animals and what they do, when they experience some kind of shock or a threat, once they know the threat is gone, so the cheetah chased the gazelle, the cheetah chased the zebra, and they're now safe. The cheetah did not catch them. So you can see them like on an actual nature documentary do this, like their body will start to shake or tremor, and there's some sort of movement of their body happening to release the excess of the chemicals, of the emotions, of everything that they just went through in their body. And so animals, when they go through a trauma, they literally shake it off. And if you have any pets, you can start to notice. I mean, I hope that they're not going through experience like this, but if and when they do, you might see like their skin start to shake. And so we can learn from nature. It's always Mother Earth, Mother Nature is such a powerful teacher for us. But we can learn from these animals by incorporating what they are doing with their body into what we do and look at the inner work and healing that we're doing and really approach it in a different way as like the modern world humans that we are now. So if we have these threats that happen in our lives, and of course, it's not always necessarily a cheetah chasing us, but our mind and our brain doesn't know the difference. So it might as well be. So let's say that a friend or a coworker or a boss is mad at us. We think that they're mad at us. Or we receive a very negative comment on a social post that we did for our business or something. Our brain and our mind doesn't know that that's any different than being attacked by a predator. And so it still goes into involuntary automatic responses when something like that happens. And so that's why it's so important to take the time to do this inner work and to release the things that we don't need to carry with us any longer, because those things can come up at the most inopportune moments. Like you're going to give a speech or something and you're really excited, and there's like this huge burst of fear and anxiety that comes up, or you go into immobilization, or you disassociate from yourself, or you have all these emotions coming up, and like you don't feel like you are in control of your own body sometimes. Like the list goes on of how many examples of when this can happen and what happens when it does. And so even some like pains and bodily sensations and tensions in the body can come up in those moments. And so this is something that you will just want to pay attention to as you are working with your own body, especially if you're doing work with clients and really supporting them through this process. This is something that I teach and train my students in inside of my certifications, because empowering yourself and your clients, if you have clients, to listen to your own body through the lens, through a trauma sensitive and trauma informed lens and way, it supports you in creating regulation and expanding your capacity for this ever-changing world that we live in, and this period of expansion called the Aquarian Age. So I really hope that today, and I invite you to perhaps sit with yourself today to integrate, to bring all of this information into your own life and bring awareness to your own body. You can take some nice big belly in inhales and some nice slow open mouth exhales. And as you do so, just bring your awareness to your body. Send some love to yourself from the top of your head all the way to the tips of your toes. And just giving yourself some love and gratitude for all that your body and all of its systems and all of your energy and all of your mind has done for you. It was truly done for you. Every program, every lived experience that is stored within you, it all began with the most positive intention of supporting you and your highest good. And you now get to go within at any time that you choose and really start to release with gratitude what no longer needs to be there, what no longer is supporting you and the person you want to be now in this chapter of your life. And while doing so, remembering that this isn't some kind of a race that you have to hurry and rush through and be like, okay, how fast can I remove everything that I no longer need? This gets to be a part of your ongoing life journey and your ever evolving journey of personal expansion. And everything you do to support yourself, it just makes you a more kind and loving and compassionate and patient human, which in turn supports everyone as a whole. So just thank you so much for listening today. Thank you for allowing me to share some of my own lived experiences with you. My own journey has made me very passionate about these topics and this work that I do. And oh my gosh, involving all the parts of me has truly changed my own life so, so much. And I know that it can empower you to do the same. So if you are looking to dive deeper into working with your mind, your body, and your energy, and or supporting any clients that you have in doing so too, I invite you to explore the Limitless Method Practitioner Certification. This is my all-in-one self-paced certification program that helps you methodically grow and nurture your heart-centered business. as a coach, as a facilitator, as a practitioner. And I created this for those passionate people who want to go really deep with their current or future clients, and they want like some flexibility in that training process. They are committed people to the work. They are self motivated. They're ready to ascend to their next level and kind of like on their own healing journey and their journey of leadership. And so, whether you are just beginning with your business or you are an experienced coach or a practitioner already, you also receive support to grow your business from the ground up. So, if any of this resonates with you and sounds like you, enrollment is now open and there is a special discounted price if you sign up before May 31st, 2023. And if you have any questions about the Limitless Method, or you want to learn more about the 7 certifications that you'll receive, somatic, subconscious, and energetic modalities, you can book a free discovery call with me, or you can read all about all of this on the website at amyhatescarrots.com. So thank you so much for being here today. I'm sending so much love to that gorgeous, limitless package that is you, your mind, your body, your energy, your spirit. Oh my gosh, I love you so much, and I will talk to you very soon. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you have enjoyed this episode, I would be so dang grateful if you shared it with others, subscribed to this podcast, and left an awesome review. You can also connect with me anytime on your favorite social platform at Amy Hates Carrots, or visit amyhatescarrots.com for all of my latest offers and free goodies that will help further support you on your journey. And just as a reminder, you, my dear, are truly limitless, and every single thing that you need is already within you now. You get to choose at any moment to live as the truest version of you and come home to the remembering of your unlimited power. I love you and your gorgeous soul so much, and I hope that you have a limitless day.